Well, the man with the job to pore over the letters, pore over that board, bring us up to speed with everything that may or may not be struck between now and the 9th of July is our reporter Jonathan Josephs, who joins us alongside Randeep as well. Jonathan, great to have you back on the programme. Worth going backwards a little bit here. These reciprocal tariffs, the reasons for them, why the president's fixated on them, and this deadline. What do we know? Who's kind of struck deals already?
Yeah, well, we know, there's been two deals struck, the United Kingdom and Vietnam. That Vietnam deal that we were just hearing about, that was only struck on Wednesday. That was announced by President Trump, but we still don't have many details about exactly what it entails. And I think detail is quite an important word here, and that's why we don't really know exactly what's going on until President Trump or also the other countries announce some kind of a deal. There's lots of trade negotiations still going on. Many countries are still taking this to the wire. We know, for instance, that South Korea's trade minister is in Washington this weekend, and he's already said that he may well ask for an extension of that July 9th deadline, because it shows the complexity of doing trade deals. These things normally take many, many years to agree, and President Trump is trying to rush through dozens and dozens of them in a matter of weeks, which is quite some feat to accomplish. How far he'll get remains to be seen.
Randeep, Somel, it's that complexity, isn't it, of global supply chains that has got you and investor colleagues around the world so nervous about what impact it means for companies in all sorts of sectors.
It has, and that's why we saw the huge sell-off at the beginning of the last quarter on Liberation Day, because the complexities around supply chains are just very hard to untangle. And if companies do want to move production, it's not so easy to do. So the more of these trade deals that can be signed before the 9th of July and the more of these tariffs that can be taken out, the better for markets overall.
Well, to that point, Jonathan, what is expectations then? What's the president's expectations, and what's your expert expectation management, I guess, as well, for what can and can't be done by the 9th?
Well, as ever, President Trump keeps us all guessing, doesn't he? And I think, it's as you said, it's a public holiday in the United States. The markets are closed. It's Independence Day. So the question is, does that mean President Trump feels independence from any potentially negative market reaction, as we were just hearing? Or does he go ahead to announce these letters are being sent and that tariffs are going to be imposed? Or is he going to have a rest like millions of other Americans? I've been closely monitoring his social media feeds, and he has been quite active in the last few minutes, but I haven't seen anything yet about tariffs and trade deals. So, the question is he running out of patience with these negotiators that are queuing up to see his team in Washington? And is he going to just issue these unilateral decisions about what tariffs he wants to impose? I mean, remember, this is all about President Trump trying to rebalance American trade. He is hugely unhappy, as he has been for many years, about the American trade deficit. Last year, it was $1.2 trillion. That's a record amount. And that means that America bought $1.2 trillion more goods from other countries than it sold to them. And President Trump takes a rather simplified view of this is costing America money, that it is sending its wealth abroad. But he's also used tariffs to try and create some leverage on issues like fentanyl, illegal drugs coming into America from, he says, places like China and Mexico. And President Trump has also been unhappy with the way American companies are treated in those other countries. He wants them to have better access to those markets. He says that other companies have better access to the US than the other way around. And also he sees it as a way of raising money for the American government. As you heard earlier in the programme, he's got this hugely expensive tax bill that's gone through, and he needs more money to come into US Treasury coffers.
Randeep, as Jonathan was saying, concern about jobs from the president's team, but a lot of those big American multinationals, the stock market listed ones that import goods and people from all around the world, have been warning, haven't they, that this might add expense for customers, for consumers.
Yes, I mean, the hope, of course, is that they can try and get the tariffs down, but if they don't, the US is also not the cheapest place to produce. So therefore, by onshoring a lot of the manufacturing, it will increase domestic prices. We haven't seen that yet, but it is likely. The one thing I would also add is we talk a lot about goods, and yes, the US is a net importer of goods. It is also a net exporter of services. technology, finance, banking. It's made huge leaps in these areas, and it's the world leader by some distance. So while they are a net importer of goods, they are an exporter of services, and those aren't included in any of this.
And just spell that out as well, because if that spills into part of the trade tensions, if countries that they're debating with or can't find agreement with, that is a way that those countries or blocs in the European Union's case could respond, right, by putting restrictions on those service industries.
Yeah, it already has. So France has proposed a potential 10% tax on technology companies, affecting the likes of Google and Facebook. And Trump has categorically said, you need to remove these right now, or we will not be signing a trade deal with you on goods.
Going to be a busy weekend. Going to be a busy weekend for Jonathan Josephs watching all this. I'm sure we'll have him back on the programme on Monday. Randeep staying with us for the rest of the programme. You're listening to World Business Report on the BBC World Service.